Hello everyone, welcome back to Speaking Spurs. Transfer gossip today, a little bit of a roundup. Players like Christian Eriksen, Heung-min Son, Yannick Carrasco, the Brazilian trio of Rafaelinha, Richarlison and Gabriel Jesus, Nicolozaniolo, who else? Harry Winks, Joe Rodon, Jonathan Klaus, Jed Spence and Yao Felix. Quite a few in there. Even a fourth Brazilian in Lucas Moura, because there's an update that's come through in sort of like the last hour and a half about him. So welcome to the channel, me Kieran from Speaking Spurs, talking all things Tottenham. Don't forget to subscribe to show your support for the channel and help it grow, and pop a like on if you enjoy the video, and your comments below on all the players that we're talking about. Anything you want, anyone you think that we want to come in the door. Beard's getting a bit big, I know. Hopefully it'll be coming off soon, not completely, but anyway, back into it. Probably the biggest shock that we're going to talk about is Real Madrid's supposed interest in Heung-min Son. It's kind of come out of nowhere. I've been saying for a number of years now, I don't get why nobody has ever come in for a bid for Son. Fantastic player, great servant to us. But now somebody is possibly interested. It's kind of infuriated me a bit. So we had a few weeks back the possibility that Liverpool had been looking at the possibility of at least testing our resolve. Now it looks like Real Madrid are possibly going to do the same, and I think that depends on outgoings and who they can bring in. Now this one I can't see happening for a few reasons. He's happy where he is. We're back in Champions League. Living in London is always a big pull for a lot of players. Antonio Conte, world-class manager, partnership with Harry Kane. He's got a lot of friends. He seems very loyal. Also the price. Daniel Levy, let's face it, if Heung-min Son is going to go anywhere right now, Daniel Levy is going to charge a world record fee. No chance that he's going for anything less than a world record, okay? So that will put them off, I can guarantee, at least for now. But if, and obviously I don't think it's going to, but devil's advocate, if he goes, I think something changes in us. I don't think we're able to let Steven Bergwijn go. I actually think he will then get more game time, or Perisic will be pushed further up the field and play in a forward role. I don't know if he can cope with that for a whole season. I think we're going to need him more in the defensive departments, but then that changes other things. I don't think we'd let Reguilon go in that circumstance, and we'd probably be looking at Gabriel Jesus, who we've kind of pulled back from a little bit for now, but I think that's a guy we would then look to get him. I don't think it's going to happen. Next one, we'll talk about Christian Eriksen. You would have seen in the last few days, apparently we've kind of pulled away from the deal a little bit, and it's a toss between Brentford and Manchester United. That's not to say we're not going to go back in for him, but at the moment I think we're pursuing other targets. I'm personally a little annoyed at this one because as a free transfer, obviously played under Conte before, so knows the system. Sorry. And then you've also got the fact that Champions League experience, winning league titles, he's got it. He's been through a lot, he's come back, and he's proven that he can still play in the Premier League. He obviously wanted to stay in London, so we'd have been a big pull. The history with the club, knows a lot of the players, knows the chairman, familiar surroundings for him, familiar for his family. I don't know if he'll end up staying at Brentford now. There's a possibility he could turn United down. Now, I'm not saying we won't go back in for him later in the window. Just for now, we've kind of called interest whilst we look at other targets. Moving on next, Yannick Carrasco. He's a player that we've definitely looked at before, but at the time of asking, it was a definite no, wasn't going anywhere. So for those of you that don't know, but I'm sure most do, Yannick Carrasco, he plays for Atletico Madrid. He's played for them over two spells, making 219 appearances for them, 37 goals and 39 assists. He spent 2 years in between in China before his return in the summer of 2020. He's a key player for Simeone. Occupies left wing back most of the time. He's actually comfortable playing further forward as well. He's got a release clause believed to be £51 million, but he's happy in Madrid at the moment. Although I think a lot of this is sparked from the fact that he does want to open up negotiations to have his contract reviewed. Look, fantastic player, Belgian international as well in what is their golden generation at the moment. They're just kind of teetering off a little bit as a few of them get older. Obviously got good experience in Champions League football, can play a role that is very much needed at Spurs in the left wing-back role. Obviously, we've got Perisic in, but as I've said, he can play further forward. He can also operate as a right winger. So That then gives him a new lease of life. And then you've got the fact that Carrasco can play further forward as well. Kind of adds a bit more experience and hopefully instant success. I don't think this one will happen because of the price. There are cheaper targets that we'll look at, but he's definitely on the radar and a very good player. Now, the three-way battle for the Brazilians, Arsenal, Chelsea and Spurs, are kind of locked between players here, and that's Rafinha and Gabriel Jesus and Richarlison. Okay, so us and Chelsea have showed an interest in Richarlison. Us and Arsenal have shown an interest in Rafinha. Arsenal obviously made a bid for Rafinha, that was rejected, and apparently they're supposedly coming back with a second bid. Leeds are asking up to 65 million for Rafinha, so that's an expensive one, but he is a great talent, he's very exciting, and Gabriel Jesus I think is more leaning towards Arsenal because of the guaranteed game time, the fact that he's worked with Arteta before at Manchester City. I don't know, it's a tricky one, so they're all good players. They all offer different things. I think if I was Gabriel Jesus, I would, not me personally, as a Tottenham fan, but if I'm looking at it from a complete neutral, if I was him, I would definitely be going to Arsenal. More guarantee of game time. There's still European football to be played. It just makes sense for his career right now. If he comes in, he's behind Son, he's behind Kulusevski, he's behind Kane. So, yeah, make of it what you will. Rafinha, I think, could be a great addition, but very, very expensive. That 150 million, we've already spent 25 million of it on the man Bissouma himself. So I'm not really sure. But now we can throw the fourth Brazilian in, and that's Lucas Moura. So in the last sort of hour or so, reports are coming out saying that if it's going to help us get a deal over the line for Richarlison, we could be pushing Lucas into the deal. Lucas Moura, if you actually look at his stats, he's one of our most creative players. Although when you watch him play, he's very frustrating for a lot of us because he tends to run into traffic all the time. He's very good on the dribble, but the problem is he wants to take it around 5 people, quite often runs into dead ends. His passing isn't actually the best, but he gets on the ball a lot. So I suppose a lot of the time he loses the ball, but because he's on the ball so often, it actually means he creates more. So he is influential, but he's one of our older players in the squad. In terms of outfield players, this is probably our last chance to get a decent fee for him. But also behind the scenes, he's very influential. He's very well liked amongst the fans, amongst the players. He's a joker. He's positive. But for me, he's very frustrating on the pitch. So if it means we're going to get Richarlison in and Conte's able to get him playing the way he can play, great. I'll take it. Will we miss Lucas? Of course. I absolutely love him as a person and I think he's hilarious. He's fun to watch when you watch training videos, but unfortunately training videos don't win us trophies, so I think from a footballing perspective maybe you have to look at it, and that's where he could come into the Richarlison deal to help us. I don't think it'll be a swap deal. I think it'll just be we pay the fee they want for Richarlison and then they pay us the fee for him. Kind of like the Højbjerg and Kyle Walker-Peters deal. It wasn't the swap, it was 2 fees. So let me know in the comments below, which of the Brazilian trio do you want? Are you happy to use Lucas Moura as a makeshift in that? Next one we'll move on to is Nicolozaniolo from Roma, Jose Mourinho's boy. So what's been happening there, his agent has been talking to Roma about the possibility of a new contract. In the meantime, Paratici, and this is going to lead on to one of the other deals, we've been in discussions with them about one of our players, possibly 2. One, it's been kind of semi-confirmed. The other one, I'm not so sure at the moment. But whilst he's in those contract negotiations, his agent, Paratici has held talks with his agent to talk about the possibility of the 23-year-old Italy international making his way across to Spurs. He's worth about 50 million euros, and if the contract talks do stall, then there is a massive chance we will swoop for the right winger. And that also kind of will seal Lucas Moura's fate, I believe, because there's no point in having Kulusevski, Moura and Zaniolo in the squad. So it would make sense for Lucas to then move on, but that probably means we won't get Richarlison. But as we said before, Paratici looks at many, many players at any one time. So who would you prefer attacking on the right as Kulusevski's competition? Is it Lucas Moura? Do you want Zaniolo? Do you want Richarlison? Would you like Gabriel Jesus, who can play anywhere across the front line? I don't know. It's a big conversation to be had. So that deal, the reason why we're talking with Roma at the moment, kind of ties in with Joe Rodon's future. So apparently, Mourinho is looking to bring Joe Rodon in on loan. And if we remember back, Joe Rodon is a player that Jose Mourinho actually signed for Spurs. Now, we know Conte likes him. He's obviously meant to be the backup for Eric Dyer, somebody that wasn't really out too much. And surprisingly, when he was out of the squad, Rodon wasn't the man called upon. But yeah, there's a possibility of that. The other player that could head over to Serie A is Japhet Tanganga. And he's a player that Conte likes. And there's a lot of fans around the club saying that they want Japhet Tanganga out the door. I don't understand. Like, he's still young. He's had his injury problems in the last couple of seasons. But before he got injured, he was very much in Conte's plans. He started, he played in 11 games or something like that before his injury, so he was racking up the minutes. Mourinho was the one that kind of pushed him into the limelight with that man of the match display against Liverpool. And actually, if you look back to the Man City game at the beginning of the season, Japhet Tanganga got man of the match in that, so he does have the ability. He held Sterling and Jack Grealish very well. In the few games later, he obviously had his erratic moments where he picked up bookings, he picked up a red card. He was wound up in those games, but there you go. So that's a possibility. I know he's going to have a good look at Japhet Tanganga in pre-season, Antonio Conte, so we'll see what happens there. But if not a first team starter, I think it's time for him to go out on loan, because I don't want him sitting on the bench all season just being a backup. Who else? Jed Spence. So, if you've been looking on the Spurs website, you will actually see a few days back we did sign a Spence. However, it was Drew Spence, who is a female footballer that's joined Spurs ladies. I remember when I clicked on it, I was like, we've signed Spence. All I saw was D and Spence. And then I was like, photo. Female footballer, Drew Spence. So no. It's gone a bit quiet. The last couple of days, they were saying that Daniel Levy has got involved in the negotiations because they've moved so slowly. It was quoted that we'd put in a bid of 15 million, they wanted 16 million, but I think they're actually asking for more than that. For it to drag on this long and us get no closer to the deal being done tells me that they are playing hardball on price. And the fact that Daniel Levy has got involved means they're niggling over fine details. But there is rumours that Daniel Levy could pull the plug on this deal. But don't worry, there are many other right backs about that we could have a look at, right wing backs, sorry. And one of those we will talk about now, which is Jonathan Klaus. Many of you might not know much about him because he spent the majority of his career in the lower leagues in France. So the 29-year-old, he's actually recently been called up to the French squad, and that has alerted us and also Chelsea to look at him. He is a right wing back, but yes, as I said, 29 years old. So somebody would move on, and that would probably be Emerson Royal, because that ties in with the deal I'm going to talk about next with Atletico Madrid. That could also tie into the Yannick Carrasco one, actually. But yeah, a right wing back. I don't know much about him myself. I'm just telling you that we've been linked with him. But us and Chelsea are both looking at him as a prospect. So if we pull out the Spence deal, expect that one to be one we're looking at. But you will be interested to know, statistically, he was the best performing fullback in France last season. So that at least is some sort of promise. Over the whole season, with some of the superstars they got playing in France, he was the best performing fullback, and that includes both sides. That's not best performing right wing back or right back, it's best performing fullback. That includes the left-sided as well. So that's a good thing. So the Atletico Madrid player in question, João Felix, you would have seen that one over the last couple of days. Apparently we've been offered the chance to sign him. And that gives us the chance to use Emerson Royal in a deal. There has been confirmation from Emerson's dad that conversations had taken place between the two and his agent. Nothing concrete in terms of a bid, just having a little look at the moment to see if they can do something there. Obviously, he came through the ranks at Barcelona, went out on loan in Spain and had a decent season, which prompted us to buy him. Hasn't quite worked out so far, but as we know with foreign players, it sometimes takes a couple of seasons for them to bed themselves in. So, should we give up on Royale? I'm not too sure. Is he a natural right wing back? No, he's not. He's a right back. So we'll see what happens there. But he could be used as part of the parcel for either João Felix or Yannick Carrasco. Now, of the two, I think I'd rather have Carrasco in than João Felix, just because when I look at him, very talented player. Obviously, internationally had looked good. But Atletico Madrid, he's not really come up with the goods. And part of the problem with players like him, I don't think physically he's ready for the Premier League. A bit like Brian Hill. And also, we're still searching for somewhere for him to go on loan, because they do believe he can become a superstar. Just needs to put on a bit of bulk and become a stronger player. But yeah, that's it for the roundup. There's quite a few players to talk about there, isn't it? So yeah, just to reaffirm, getting further away from Christian Eriksen, possibility of going back later. Real Madrid wants Sonny, Yannick Carrasco on the cards, one of 3 Brazilians. Possibly Lucas going out the door. Oh, Harry Winks as well. Forgot to mention Harry Winks as a possible outgoing. He's been linked with Everton, and apparently Lampard has given the green light for the hierarchy to start talking to Spurs about Harry Winks. He does want to bring him in. But we have also offered Winksy to Crystal Palace and Rangers, interestingly. That's a bit of a strange one. A lot of players going over to the Scottish League at the moment. And I kind of get it. Celtic and Rangers, European football, great big clubs, but I just don't... You're not playing European football every week. So in terms of the league, as we saw with Aaron Ramsey, I don't think it really benefits them too much. European football, yes, it can help build their stock if they want to move somewhere afterwards. So like you signed a 2-year... Well, it'd have to be a 3-year, wouldn't it, for it to be worth it for them. Sign a 3-year deal, you do a season there, you move on afterwards to a bigger club. That could work, but it's not something I can see him taking up. If I was him, I'd go to Everton or Palace. Now, Palace with Vieira in charge have done all right. So, yeah. And Winksy could be used with the Richarlison deal as well as Lucas Moura. So we could actually end up saying, have Lucas Moura, have Harry Winks, we'll have Richarlison. We'll obviously still have to pay a little bit because Richarlison's performed better than the other two over the last couple of seasons. But yeah, that's it today. Plenty of people to talk about. Get yourselves in the comments below letting me know. I was going to talk about centre-backs today, but we have been linked with so many. That'll be a separate video because I don't think we're any closer to signing a centre-back. Paratici's still looking round, weighing up his options on that one, because I think in the back of his mind he's still thinking, I don't think it's all dead in the water for Bastoni. I think there's part of him that believes he can still do a deal for Bastoni as the window goes on. So he's keeping an eye on what's happening at Inter, and then other people are being mentioned like Bremer and a few others. So that'll be a separate video. Thanks for sticking around. Let me know your comments below on all the players that we've spoken about. Anyone else from the Spurs squad you think could be trimmed. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, support the video with a like, and until next time, come on you Spurs.